I'll say something. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. The Holy Prophet ﷺ is saying, the sign that Allah does not love that servant, if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not love that servant, is not even going to send him a toothache. In the eyes of this world, what is the most, to use Urdu, Farsi word, who is the most malang person? The one who is all alone, correct? He has no friends, no family, nothing to support him. He is very poor. He has no future, and he is looked down on by all of society, correct? This describes, in the eyes of dunya, every prophet that came. Almost every prophet, because some prophets, they came ruling. But even then, they know that they don't own anything, even when they were kings. And those who are following them, this is their life. You look at the Ahlul Bayt, this is their life. You look at the Sahaba Kiram, this is their life. You look at those sheikhs, those ones following them, this is the life. So all of that according to the world, the dunya, it is saying that this is pain. Why the prophets and why the companions and why the saints of Allah, they have this? Why don't they enjoy the world, have all the pleasures of the world, and still be close to Allah? Why not? Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the one who has created this world and has said to us, what is this world? Because He has created shaitan and He has told us what is shaitan, what is our ego, what is the pleasure, what is our nafs. And He has said, don't follow them. He has said, this dunya, it is trickery. It is just amusement. And if we are lost in the amusement and the trickery of this dunya, which is our enemy, it will bring us away from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If we are surrounded by everything, all the luxuries of this world, we will forget Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Hazrat Ibrahim ibn Adam, this story fits. He was a righteous sultan from the Balkh area, Samarkand area. He was very powerful. He was very rich, and he was also very righteous sultan. He was not a wrong one. And he had all these luxuries in the world, but his heart was not satisfied. He was always running to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And one day, he was wondering, thinking, meditating, connecting himself to his Lord. And he was sitting there in his private room, that the ceiling of the room was made from glass. It was very rare in those times. And he was sitting and he was looking up and he saw a man. And he stood up and he says, old man, what are you doing on top of my roof? He understood as a sultan too, because sultans are highly intelligent people. That was not an ordinary man. How could he have escaped all that security and all everything to be on the roof of the private room of the sultan? Because his heart is always thinking about Allah. He knows this one must be a beloved one of Allah. And that old man looked at him, looking down, saying, I'm looking for my camel. And Sultan says, how are you going to look for your camel from the top of a roof? Your camel is there on the roof. He says, no, it is easier for me to find my camel on your roof tops than for you to find Allah surrounded in your luxury. Then he woke up a little bit. Hazrat Ibrahim ibn Adam. Finding the man disappeared. It's a very long story. Finally, he decided to just leave his kingdom, leave his wife that he had just married, and just spent time together. Took off everything, his clothes, rich clothes, and he puts on the poor clothes. And everyone is thinking, our king has gone crazy. You know? Like so many of you, you decide to take off your torn jeans, your nice jacket, yeah, and you're not wearing anything that is old, and you're not wearing anything that is miskin. The clothes that we're wearing now, alhamdulillah, is beautiful. Because we cannot carry that too these days. People who are carrying that is just for a show. I know someone who's wearing a jacket, but he's cutting patches and he's putting here, saying, now this is khirqa. No, not like that. And one day, Ibrahim ibn Adam, he built his own house by the sea, staying in his hut, sitting there, and now he starts to understand, to know, and to come closer to his Allah. He was a righteous one, he wasn't a wrong one. And he was sewing his clothes because they tear, and he was sewing it together. And he heard the hoofs, and he looked out. Then he saw his friend. He was a general. He was coming with thousands of soldiers. And they're coming and they're passing by in front of him. And he stopped and he says, look, men, look at our crazy, poor king. One time he was our friend too. He lost his mind. And he left everything. To do what? In today's language, they say to become a bum. Useless. Not having any purpose in life. Not helping anyone. He was a sultan, and now he became a beggar. Ibrahim ibn Adam looked at him. He stood up. The needle was in his hand. He took it and he threw it into the ocean. Then he said to the ocean, he says, bring me back my needle. Before you know it, the whole ocean started bubbling. Everything started going like this, and you see all the soldiers and the generals, thousands of people watching with their eyes. This is real. All the fishes and the sea animals, they come up from the surface, and in their mouth was all the treasures from mankind that they have sunk into the ocean. Pearls and jewels and gold and diamonds, everything, giving it to him. He says, I don't want jewels. He says, I want my needle. They came down again. After a while, they came up again, and everyone had a golden needle in their mouth. He says, I want the needle that I threw in. They went down, and one fish came out with his iron needle, came close to him, he picked it up. He looked at the general and he smiled. He said, Ibrahim was a beggar before, looking to this world. Now he is a sultan. The purpose of Ibrahim ibn Adam in moving away from that luxury that distracts him from Allah, it is not so that later he can get power to gain more luxury. There are people who do that too. They enter into a forest sometimes to do seclusion, this and that. They say, okay, but later to gain more for their ego, whether it is something that is material or something that is not. They're not doing it for the sake of Allah to say, I'm your servant and I will always be a servant. Mankind, we have lost our compass completely because we're not looking anymore to the prophets to teach us how to live. It used to be once upon a time the Jews would look to their prophets. The Christians would look to their prophet. And the Muslims would look to their prophet. And they were not looking for this world. Majority, they were following and they believing what the prophets came to teach. Now, Christians, Jewish and Muslims, they're not following the prophets anymore, but everyone claiming to have the highest spirituality. And they are living not according to their belief. They're living according to what their ego wants. Like Shaykh Effendi is saying, if you don't live according to your belief, one day you're going to believe the way that you live. So yes, it is in the structure of Islam itself. It is not idea, not talk. It is in the principles of our faith and the principles of our practice to move away from this dunya. What is it? From our shahadat, to our namaz, to our zakat, to our saum, to our hajj, everything concerns with akhirat, nothing to do with dunya. Nothing. The shahadat, your prayer, whatever that you're doing, stop. 5 times a day, Qibla facing, and start worshipping. Go back to your Lord. That is your reality. Stop this dunya. This is more important. Your zakat, whatever you earn in this world, it doesn't belong to you. In Islam, generally, they're saying 1/40th. It belongs to those ones who are in need of that. The alims and the ulamas, they put different categories. They put 8 categories of people who are supposed to take. It is not yours. Which is yesterday when I spoke, when they asked Imam Abu Hanifa, saying, what is you're trying to test him? He's saying, what is the shariat? What is the law of zakat? Everybody knows it's 1/40th. They asked him, what law do you follow? He says, what law I follow, you cannot follow. He says, you see, bid'ah. It's supposed to be 1/40th. He says, yes, 1/40th is for everyone. But I'm following the rules of zakat, the rules of charity of Hazrat Abu Bakr Siddiq. Where it's not 1 out of every 40, it is everything that I own. Belongs to the way of Allah. But now, which means that with every practice that you have, there is something that is general and something that you can go higher or deeper and deeper and deeper. 5 times a day. The believer is not saying 5 times a day, just split second, getting up and down and then moving like this and that's it. Which is why Prophet ﷺ showed that there are sunnat prayers. There are nafila ibadats. There are other things now that is going to make that prayer to become something that is more solid, something that is more enriching. Your zakat. Now it's not just, oh, okay, that's it, 1/40th, I'm okay now. No, your heart has to move now to see the people there that are in need. That falls under the category of sadaqah. So this is making yourself to say, it doesn't belong to me. This time of the day, it doesn't belong to me. The work that I'm doing, it doesn't belong to me. There is a creator. That creator is demanding 5 times a day. I turn away from this world. The creator is saying, whatever that I've earned in the halal way, he is the one who is providing because he is Razak. The Creator is saying, everything that I have, eating and drinking, and every pleasure that I have now, that is halal, that is allowed. Now that becomes forbidden in the month of Ramadan in the daylight hours. It has nothing to do with enjoying dunya. It is to pull yourself away from that. Because everything now, it is just to sustain the body, but the spirit needs something else. The spirit, when you move away from the needs of the bodies, like that the spirit becomes stronger. That's why the fasting is there. Which in reality, as today, well, mashallah, good morning to the West. After 1,400 years, they woke up and they say fasting is very healthy for you. They say dry fasting is the most healthy for you. They say dry fasting. When you fast and you don't drink water the way we do. Before, for they say it's wrong, it is bad for your health, correct? It is, oh, don't you get thirsty? All these foolish questions. Always know that the Prophet is always ahead. We are always behind. We have to catch up. Don't assume there is something that the Prophet ﷺ put there, and according to our level, because we are behind, it doesn't make sense, so it is wrong. Now scholars are saying that. So, and the Hajj, it is completely nothing to do with the dunya. The Hajj now, you completely turn away from the dunya, you wear the clothes of your burial, and you go through the judgment day. And don't think in every action that we're doing, our ego is not screaming at us to say, oh, this is painful for us. So hard for us to pray 5 times a day. So hard for us to fast. So hard for us to this, of course. But in that harshness, for your ego, it is coming the rahmat of Allah. When you're more in connection with your spirit, then you feel more alive. Then you're becoming alive for Allah's sake, not for the sake of this dunya. You're going through things in life. It is our faith, the last article of our faith. Everything Allah has destined. Khair and shar is coming from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, with the permission of Allah, with the knowledge of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When the believer believes, what Allah is saying, O believer, O believers, believe. Like what we were saying yesterday, make this belief to be pumping, make this belief to be strong, to be alive. Don't just say, I believe, and you don't do anything. And then later you complain why I'm not believing, why my belief has gone down. It's like someone who says, I'm healthy now, I can eat whatever I want. And then 1 year later you say, why am I overweight? Why am I having this disease? You have to keep up. You have to protect it. Oh believers, believe. And when the believers are believing that, understanding that now why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is making me to go through this pain, whether it's physical or psychological, emotional. And he sits down and he connects and he understands. So much hikmah, wisdom will come from that. Because especially if he's doing it for the sake of Allah, this is walking in the footsteps of the Prophet ﷺ, and all the prophets. Those ones who are Muslim, those ones who are oppressed. We cannot compare our own, for example, psychological pain. Don't be idiots to say, oh, their pain is same as mine, my pain is same as them. Because today I have a headache, or today I'm under stress, or today I had a bad day, or I have anxiety, so those ones who are fleeing from their houses because they are getting killed and tortured, they are the same. No, it is not the same. In fact, all this pain, psychological pain and everything coming to mankind, 21st century, because we have become spoiled. We're no longer now using our body for the sake of Allah. We're using our body only for the sake of dunya and for the sake of the ego. When it's not moving that way, there is a stress that is happening because our spirit gets very upset. So think and understand. Yes, as Hazrat Rumi is saying, that we just celebrated his Urs a few days ago. They are messengers. Sit and understand. If anything, understand our own weakness. Don't look to others. Understand what is the situation. How did we come about this situation? What happened? Once you start thinking and understanding, your faith will increase. It's not just something that something happens and you respond, you react. You understand the reason behind it. Then that time you're going to start realizing what is motivating, what is the hand that is behind it. That time you become sincere and you say, okay, this is coming from my ego. I'm in this situation because of my ego. And Allah is saying, don't follow this way, I refuse. Or the hand that is behind it is coming from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now this is a test. Ya Rabbi, I'm too weak to carry this test. It is an honor that you are giving me. I'm asking you to give me more strength and faith for that. Whichever way that you turn with this, with that level of faith, it will bring you closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Maulana Rumi also saying, all the pain and all the suffering that we are experiencing, that we are crying, that we are being very busy 24 hours a day. Once we close our eyes and we die, and the minute we open our eyes, we will get up dancing. Because everything is gone. Just as Shaykh Effendi told a story one time. It's not a story. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, on the Day of Judgment. No, it wasn't Day of Judgment. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala saying, yes, I believe it was the Day of Judgment, saying, bring that servant to me, to his angels. That servant that has lived for 1,000 years in this world. But he has never experienced 1 second of happiness or pleasure. Pain through his whole life, but he's patient and he's worshipping me. Yes, there are people who are like that. Take that servant. Bring that servant for my sake that he suffered for 1,000 years and put him in front of the door of Jannah. The angel took that servant, brought that servant in front of the door of Jannah and brought him to divine presence. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying, say, O my servant, what kind of life, hard life that you experience? And that one saying, what hard life, Ya Rabbi? I don't remember anything. All my life, it was pleasure. Because he spent a split second smelling from paradise, standing just at the door of paradise, not going inside, not living inside. Just standing there, smelling from the smell of paradise and saying, what hardship. It has always been paradise. Remember? Remember how it is when we sit with our Shaykh? Everything just melts away. It's teaching us that. Everything else we forget. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying to that angel, bring me another servant that for 1,000 years that I grant him, he has not known 1 single moment of pain or unhappiness. Complete pleasure and happiness and joy in his whole life. And that servant, take him and pass him through Jahannam for 1 split second and bring him to my presence. That angel took that servant, brought him to Jahannam for 1 split second, came to divine presence, and Allah is saying, say of the life that I gave you in the world, 1,000 years of pure pleasure, that you are forgetting about me. And that servant is saying, Ya Rabbi, what pleasure. All my life has been hell. I don't remember anything. Do you understand? What is this world? 10, 20, 50, 60 years. That lifespan has been given to this ummah. 60, 63 years, majority passing at that time, because the Holy Prophet ﷺ lived that long. Even if we live for 100 years, 1,000 years, what is ahead of us? Eternity. Eternity. Forever. Holy Prophet ﷺ is saying, work for this world as much as you're going to live in this world. Work for the Akhirat as much as you're going to live in the Akhirat. Work in this world as much as you're going to live in this world. How much are we going to live in this world for? Say 100 years. Work as much. But how long are we going to live in Akhirat? Forever. Work that much then. Because in these days, even the scholars are turning that hadith around to say that means we have to work more for this dunya, not for Akhirat. Because Akhirat is forever, no problem. Dunya is only a few short years, so we have to kill ourselves, be slaves of this dunya. These are the scholars of the Jahannam of Akhir Zaman. Work for this world as much as you're going to live in this world, and work for the Akhirat as much as you're going to live in the Akhirat. This world is what for the believers? It is a prison. You say to that prisoner, I'm going to put you in this prison. You're going to stay here. But one day, after a certain number of years, you're going to be free, and they're going to make you to become the Sultan. Forever. And say to another prisoner, you're going to live in this world and you're going to be like a sultan. All the pleasures of this world. Everything, all the power. But one day, after a short number of years, you're going to enter into that prison forever. That one that is staying here in prison to be free, even his prison that he's staying in, knowing that he's going to be free forever, that prison becomes paradise. It's counting the days. It's going to end. That one who lives in this dunya, that he gets all the pleasures and the treasures of this dunya, even if he lives for 1,000 years, it is going to be hell for him, because he knows that he's going to come out from it one day and he's going to enter into a hell. He's going to enter into a prison. The believer should keep this alive. And that time, the difficulty that is coming to us, we're going to understand this is making us to come closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forever. And to be patient. How many times Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala praised the patient in the Quran? I don't see him praising the scholars in the Quran, but praising those ones who are patient. And he's saying, verily, my patient servants, they are very few. Very few. So it's up to you. You want to be those ones that Allah is praising in the Quran? Then be patient. You want to be those ones that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying majority, they are ungrateful, they are impatient, they are rebellious? You can do that too. May Allah make us to become more patient. May Allah surround us with people who make us to be patient. May Allah surround us with the things that will remind us about the patience. Ya sabr. May Allah take away from our hearts and from our surroundings things and people and other ideas that make us to doubt and to be rebellious and to be ungrateful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. May Allah forgive me and bless you. Al-Fatiha. Amen. Assalamu alaikum. Right. Anything else anyone say? As much as enough, inshallah. I'll see you next time. Al-Fatiha. Assalamu alaikum. Juma Mubarak.